Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go over our Forex trades for today, Tuesday, December 16th. Well, we had some more stuff going on from Russia last night, surprisingly, at like 1 o'clock in the morning or so over there in Russia. So, whatever, 7, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Russia surprisingly jacked up interest rates by 6.5% from 10.5% to 17%, which temporarily halted the slide in the ruble. But then to get up this morning and find out that the slide had resumed in the ruble, at one point trading right around 80 rubles to $1 US. Last time we looked, it was somewhere in the 60s. It's amazing what's happening. We're watching the ruble collapse right in front of our own eyes. But that surprise move really created some knee-jerk reactions. It wasn't scheduled event or anything, so that created some knee-jerk reactions in some pairs that we were in last night, and we ended up getting hit on them a little bit. We had 4 trades, lost 12.5 pips. We were down more than that, but we had one trade this morning in US dollar Japanese yen, which bailed us out a little bit. We picked up 9.4 pips on that trade. Actually, what you're seeing here on the screen, and it went a lot higher. But considering we were down, about 20, whatever it was, about 21, 22 pips, we wanted to try to just grab something without taking a whole lot of risk. And if it runs further, so be it. Which obviously, as you see there, it did. So let's go over them here. This, like I said, this is the US dollar Japanese yen. We were long this 116.856. It was a beautiful trade, popped for us right off the bat. As just stated, we were down over 20 pips coming into this trade. It was approaching the figure. That's another reason just to get out, or at least get out a part of it. If we weren't down, if this was our first trade of the day, or we were, maybe down 4 or 5 pips, or up 4 or 5 or 6 pips, we would have pieced this out for sure. Part of it at 117 and see if it could have ran through. But unfortunately, that was not the situation we were in. That was not the cards that we were dealt. So we took it all out and picked up the 9.4 pips. Second trade you're looking at here is Euro Australian dollar. We were short this 1.51188. Just didn't do anything. The news came out, made it pop a little. The news was sort of confusing the markets, and then finally you got a pop here over. Actually, this was early this morning, probably about 6 or 7 o'clock, starting around 5 a.m. or so on the East Coast. So on that trade, we lost 20.4 pips. I mean, it's a scalp trade. We're willing to risk 20 to 30 pips, and that's what we ended up losing. Now, if that news didn't come out, could have been a different story. Maybe it does come in. Maybe this happens prior to it popping here. And we pick some, 15, 12, 8 pips, whatever, but situation was not such. This was a trade that we were in. This was a swing trade we were in, Euro Yen. We were long this from 148.150. We were basically long 1/10 of our normal size because we were risking so much. It did come back. We were long this over the weekend. On Sunday, it came back. We were actually just about flat on it for the most part. Dipped in, came back again. We were flat on it for the most part. Felt like it was going to run, but this was the news. It started to pull in, and then the news hit from Russia, and it just continued to get worse. So good thing we got out. We lost 50.2 pips, but adjusted for size, it's like losing 5.1 pips. And then we were long this last night. After the news came out, we were long pound to Australian dollar. Same type of situation. We were long 1.90582. We were basically long. We were long 1/10 of our normal size, basically because we were risking. The average true range on this pound to Australian is almost 200 pips or so. So we were risking, in that neighborhood. So 1/10, you'd be looking at. Losing about 20 pips if it got stopped out, which it didn't, and this was we were actually going to use this number back here as our stop, as low as this level. So, and then as it ran overnight, we had our stops in place. It didn't get stopped out. It ran overnight. As you see there, it really busted through it. But again, approaching we put our targets in because it was going to be approaching the figure. We're not going to be watching it, so we can't piece out of it. It's a small position. We could piece out of a small position, but we weren't going to be watching it. So it was coming to the figure, so that's where we put our targets at. Plus, the figure has these tops, as we were saying yesterday, look like a head and shoulder. This is the left shoulder, this is the head here, and this is the right shoulder. So it's going to be a ton of resistance. It did try to act there. I mean, it popped through it. This was probably about 6:30 in the morning or so, and then fell back down, and then finally started to run this morning. But we were out. We were out, probably got out around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Obviously, we weren't in the office. We were still in La La Land at that point. But we'll take it, 36.3 pips, equivalent to 3.6 pips on a tenth of a position. So the two swing trades pretty much equaled out, granted down about 1.5 pips. The Euro Australian was the one that pinched us on the scalp, and then the other scalp we had this morning picked up the 9.4. Overall, lost 12.5 pips on the 4 trades. As good as Monday was, or as great as Monday was, starting last night and then into Tuesday, kind of aggravating only because of that news from Russia and what happened. Again, it wasn't a scheduled event. They just raised those rates, trying to halt the slide in the ruble. And funny enough, it did for a few hours, but then traders came back in and just started to smash the ruble again. So again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Tomorrow's Fed day, interest rate decision from the Fed. So we won't be trading tomorrow morning. We'll be looking to do some trades this evening. Some scalp trades, even some small swing trades if we can. Could possibly hold a small swing trade going into the Fed meetings, especially if it's not U.S. dollar based. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Any signals come out, they'll be coming your way. And if we get any trades, we'll do a video again tomorrow or Thursday, depending on what happens with the Fed meeting and stuff. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck trading.